MITRE ATT&CK 18 is here, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the key changes. So first things first, data source objects are gone. They've been completely removed. Let's start by refreshing our memory about what data source objects look like in version 17. So as the name would suggest, they represent data sources, but more specifically, if we look at the different objects, you can see Active Directory as a data source. You can see app logs, you can see certificates, and so on. Now, these have been removed and replaced by more structured and standalone attack objects, which I'll come on to in a minute. But if we jump back to version 18 and filter on a technique, what you will also see is inside every technique or every sub-technique, some properties that have been removed. So here I'm going to compare version 17 of this technique to version 18. And you will see that here, data sources, the XMITRE data source property has been removed, and the detection property, the content inside of it, has also been completely removed, yet the actual property remains. So again, this is because these bits of information inside of the technique object have been replaced by these two new standalone objects. And this makes it much easier to explore the things and the concepts being discussed inside of these properties inside of the attack framework. And without holding it back anymore, the two new properties that have been introduced are analytics and detection strategies. The two objects are closely related, but let's start by looking at detection strategies. So here we can see detection strategies like abuse of domain accounts, abuse of PowerShell execution. And these detection strategy objects, if we drill down onto one, are linked to analytic objects, another new object, as I've already mentioned, in Attack 18. And if I look at the graph here, what you will see is the structure and the relationships between different objects in the attack framework. So here we have the new detection object, which detects the technique domain accounts. And linked to this detection strategy are four analytic objects. So to demonstrate what analytic objects do and what they look like, we can go to the analytics tab here. And within a detection strategy, there may be one or more analytic objects linked to it. So here we have four analytic objects, and analytic objects are separated by domain. So here we have Linux, macOS, Windows, and ESXi. And analytic objects help defenders identify techniques in their environments. So it points defenders to the right places and describes the type of things they should be looking for. So if we take the Windows domain, you'll see there's a unique analytic object linked to it. And this analytic is looking at the detection of suspicious logon behavior using valid domain accounts across multiple hosts, off hours, or simultaneous sessions from geographically distant locations. So it's describing to you as a defender how you can identify this type of technique on Windows systems and the other systems up here. Inside each analytic object are mutable elements. I like to think of information about log tuning. These mutable elements consist of a field and a description. So if we take the field time window, so here it's saying tune your detection for off hours or abnormal logon spikes, or logon type. Distinguish between interactive service and network logons. So this is first pointing you to bits of information that can help you write a detection and come up with detection hypotheses. But it's also telling you, hey, you might want to improve your logging to detect certain things. So log on type, for example, here. But then analytic objects themselves are linked to data components. And data components tell you where you should be looking for these things. So in this case, there are 3 data components linked to this analytic object. We have logon session metadata, we have process creation, and we have network connection creation. And we're talking and looking at the Windows domain with this analytic object. So here we have log sources that we want to be ingesting. And in this example, we have security Windows logs and we have sysmon logs. But these data components go further than that. They also tell us the fields and the field values we should be looking out for in these logs. So again, when we're crafting those detections, we can make sure, one, that the correct data is being ingested into our SIM or into our detection engine. But secondly, we can make sure that that detection has the logic to cover all of these things. And we can ensure that the detection is looking at the right things and not missing anything in the logic that it's implementing. And this is really game changing, in my opinion, when it comes to using attack with detection content. Because today, if you're like me, you tag all of your detections with techniques, which is great from a detection coverage point of view. But what this detection strategy and analytic and data component chain allows you to do is take those detections that you've tagged a detection rule with, and then make sure that the logic inside that detection is wide enough to actually detect all of the things that are being described across the analytic and the data component objects.